Hi guys, welcome again to the channel, The Recap. Today on The Recap, we are quickly looking at a few multiple choice questions in the CSEC English A exam. So it's CSEC English A Paper 1. We're looking at a few questions such as grammar, subject and verb agreement, things like that. So you can see some of these questions in the May-June 2019 CXC paper. You can also see this in the 2020 paper, 2021. You never know, it goes old. Before we get into the actual review, let me say hi to my friend Miss Rihanna Pile, somewhere across the Caribbean. Not sure exactly where she's from, but saying hi to her as well as saying hi to my friend Miss Nikita James from Anna Regina Multilateral School. When I was in school, I had a bad crush on Miss James. We used to go to nationals together, national dramatic poetry competition, Mashramani dramatic poetry competition together. I had a bad crush on her. Anyway, I know her students will tell her I say that, but anyway, let's go into the paper. So we have a paper here. We're going to start with this one here today. The guest speaker's words reinforced. Reinforced means to strengthen. So if we're looking at opposite, the opposite of reinforced would be dispel. So D, the barren land. If the land is barren, it means it's infertile. So opposite we're looking for. So fertile. Again, you have to remind yourself what the opposites are. And you're looking for the opposite. This is a good question because it has both fertile and infertile. So if you don't know what opposite is, then you have difficulty choosing an answer. So they said the land is barren. So you're looking for the opposite in meaning. If barren means infertile, then the answer would be fertile. So the answer is B, fertile. Affluence display. Affluence means what? Rich. So somebody who's popular because they have money, something to that effect. So the affluence displayed by the beachside communities indicated the significant difference between economic status from dwellers of the city. So affluence means something to do with wealth. So the opposite of wealth would be poverty. Again, keep reminding yourself what you're looking for. Remind yourself what you're looking for in these answers. The question is asking you for opposite words, opposite in meaning. So you have to look for those opposites, right? Good. All right, so we're looking at quickly here again, 4 and 5. Remind yourself what the instruction was asking you to do. The instruction is looking for words opposite in meaning to the underlined word. So John's parents acknowledged that his recent behavior was contemptible. Contemptible means what? Horrific, terrible. So opposite of that would be commendable. So for D. Number 5, he was always adept at evading questions at interviews. So adept means skillful. So opposite of skillful would be unskilled. So C, 5C. Good. I really like these questions. With these questions here, you have to always be focusing. You have to try and remember what the original was saying before you can look at what the options are. So looking at question 6 with equivalent sentences, again I'm saying reread the original, understand what the original is saying before you look at the options for an answer. Alright, so A, number 6 rather, when Mr. Peets was transferred on promotion from South Point to Marvel, Mrs. Adams succeeded him. So it means that Adams took over when he was transferred. Remember to always question yourself, what is this saying, before you look for an answer. That way you will always find the answer. So let's look at this. What is the original here? That is the original. Option 1 says, Mrs. Adams worked at Marvel after? No. No, no, no. They didn't say she worked there after. They just said that she took over from him. Mr. Peets was succeeded by Mrs. Adams when he was promoted to a post at Marvel. That sounds good. Let's read the next one. Both Mrs. Peets and Mrs. Adams were transferred. Nope, wrong. They didn't tell you that. In order to be promoted, Mr. Peets had to be transferred to Marvel. Who said that? Nobody said that. The right answer there is B. That's the best option. 6B. Good. Number 7, the recent floods made the route impassable. The route was made impassable, right? Options: A, people were unable to travel. Who said that? Nobody said that. That's nonsense. Trash. B, the road cannot be used as a result of the floods. That sounds good. C, traveling has been brought to a stand. Who said that? Nobody said traveling has been brought to a standstill. That's rubbish. D, because of the heavy rains, commuters were forced to detour. Nobody didn't say they had to detour. They just said it was impossible. Best answer there is B, 7B. The competitors in the long jump event were daunted by the performance of Kevin Jones. A, Kevin Jones was the best. Nobody told you that. Nobody told you that. B, no one expected to do better than. Nobody said that. C, the long jump event daunted all the competitors except. Nobody said that. That is nonsense. D, since Kevin Jones jumped so well, the other competitors in the event were discouraged. That is the best answer. Number 9, an interest in the nation's development plans should be displayed by its young people. A, young people should take an interest in the plans for national development. That sounds okay, but let's read B. National development is dependent upon the youths. Nobody said that. C, young people ought to be aware. No, they didn't say aware. They said they must be displaying an interest. D, the nation will only advance through plans proposed by the youths. Nobody said youths are proposing plans. The original again is saying interest in the nation's development should be displayed by its young people. Read the original, read the options over and over until you see what is the correct one. The best answer there is A, 9A. Alright, number 10. It's saying, in spite of their size, whales are no longer an even match for man. So it's saying, despite their size, whales can't evenly match man. Good. Whales are no longer an even match for man. No, that excluded the fact that the size is important. Size is important. Good. B, men are no longer a match for whales. No, that's the other way around, so that one is out. C, because of their size, whales should be better able to hold their own against man. That is not what they said. Although they are large, whales can no longer adequately defend themselves against man. That is the answer. D. 10D. Number 11, the masqueraders who were jumping to the rhythm of the steel band music became very exhausted after a while and had to go home early. So you're substituting so where very is. So you're taking out very and you're putting in so. So that would now read, the masqueraders who were jumping to the rhythm of the steel band music became so exhausted that day. So the answer there is D, that they had to go home early. So 11D. So again, what you're doing with these sentences, you're putting out, you're taking out and you're putting in something that they tell you to. Or you're beginning with something and you're concluding with the sentence by looking at a link in the options. So question 12, she told her parents a lie in order to escape punishment. So they're asking you to take out in order to and put in order that. So you start with the same thing in the original sentence. She told her parents a lie in order that she might escape punishment. So A, 12A. Number 13, the Australian cricketers fought valiantly against the West Indies team, but all their efforts were in vain. So they're saying to begin with, despite their valiant effort. So, despite their valiant effort, the Australian cricketers were defeated. B. They were defeated by the West Indies cricket team. So B there. 14, she found, even after she had made several attempts to regulate a sprinkler, that the water was still reaching the veranda. Begin with having made several attempts to regulate a sprinkler, she found that. 14A, she found that. So number 15, and intending to declare the innings closed, the captain told his bowlers to conserve their energy. You're beginning here with a direct quote. Begin with this. I intend to declare the innings closed, the captain said. So conserve your energy, continued. A. 15A. So you're choosing the incorrect parts of these sentences. If there's no incorrect part, you choose D. While driving through the fields on a conducted tour, the farmers were appalled to see several diseased cattle. Were appalled, it should have been, so the error is C. The soundness of the proposal introduced by opposition members was quite evident though the presentation was both criticized by the President and the Secretary of State. So the soundness of the proposal introduced was, that's fine. The subject there is soundness and not members. So the soundness was. But both is in the incorrect position. It should have been was criticized by both. So both should have been closer to the nouns. So was criticized by both, it should have been, and not was both criticized. So C would have been the error there. We always feel good whenever our cricketers play well enough to win a series of matches convincingly. All of that is fine, there's no error there. 18D. Number 19, the two robbers, not knowing the value of the loot, were unable to agree on how to divide it among themselves. Among is wrong because there are two robbers, it should have been between themselves. Among is used when there are more than two. Alright, so that's an error. C would be an error there, 19C. And number 20, one must be aware of the threats to your health if happy living is one's goal. This is an error of parallel structure. So parallel structure says the phrase at the front basically determines what comes at the back. The same idea at the front must determine what comes at the back. So the subject here is one. One must be aware. So it's a third person pronoun. One must be aware of the threat to your health. Your would be incorrect. That should have been one should always be aware of the threat to one's health, not your. It would have been your if the start of the sentence had you must be aware. So one must be aware of the threat to one's health. So B would be the error, 20B. So question 1 here, in my opinion, I think your suggestion to upgrade housing facilities in rural areas is impractical. So you're looking for the errors here. They have listed those there for you. So A is acceptable, B cliche or misused metaphor, C incorrect grammar or faulty diction, while D too wordy or repetitive. Remember, these options can be switched around. So A can now be too wordy, uh, D can now be acceptable as it stands. So you have to read these questions carefully to make sure you are putting the correct answer that you really want to put. Because the person said, in my opinion, I think, that's repetitive. So that's too wordy. So 11D, it is his view, and one in which he strongly holds, that a constitutionally elected government should not be toppled by force of arms. That's acceptable, that's fine. So A, 22A. 23, when the clerk raised his voice in protest, his boss asked him to hold his tongue since empty vessels make the most noise. That there is classic example of cliche, misused metaphor. Empty vessels make noise. Number 24, the extremely extravagant girl was so animated, cheerful, and high spirited, she was invited to many parties. So I think this one is C for two reasons. One, animated seems to be incorrectly used grammatically. The incorrectly used word there would have been faulty diction. And again, it could have been conjunction after high spirited, so that comma there I think is incorrectly used. So I'll say 24C for those two reasons. Is it any wonder why the children at Miss Brownlows behave like delinquents when they have a heroine, I prefer to say heroine that thinks the worst of them and their kind? Whew, that was a mouthful. But heroine, I don't think heroine was used there correctly, so I'm going to say faulty diction. The answer there is C, 25C. Before we continue, let me apologize for all sorts of sounds that you're hearing throughout this video. I intend to do this video for you, get it over with as soon as possible. I can't be recording back and forth, back and forth. These birds just seem to not have regards for you people at all. So again, my apologies. Ad break. So remember, you can't be ugly and lazy. You have to be able to pick one struggle in this life. And most of you are born ugly, so you have to be hardworking. You have to stay in school. You have to be smart. You have to work hard. All right? Good job. So go ahead, give me a like, give me a comment, tell me what you think about the video. Subscribe and recommend the channel to someone. And don't unsubscribe when you're done, right, CXC, Good. So we are looking at some multiple choice paper. This paper here is May-June 2018 paper. I'll put a link in the description to the full paper. Go ahead and look at that if you wish. The first question reads, despite his short temper, his willingness to give of his wealth to help others to succeed led people to call him benevolent. Benevolent means kind. That's the best option there. Some of these answers, I was given this paper with some of the answers, with the answers marked off. I do not agree with all of them, so I'm going to tell you what I disagree with. So number two, so number one there is C, benevolent, benevolent meaning kind. Number two, when parents display as something for one child, the others are likely to feel what? So you're trying to complete these sentences with the best words possible. All right, so when parents display a fondness for one child, the others feel lonely. I don't like that one. When parents display a liking for one child, the others feel indifferent. That doesn't make any sense. That's trash. C, when parents display a preference for one child, the others are likely to feel jealous. I like that option. D, when they display a concern, the other one feels angry. That's nonsense. I think the answer to number two is C. Let me know what you think if you disagree. Number three here. So, what are you really doing in these questions? You are trying to find the word that best completes the sentence. So, for questions that would have two blank spaces, you have to find two words in the same option that best complete the entire sentence. So, if you find one word that fits nicely, but the other word doesn't fit nicely, you can't use that option. So, looking at number three, an attack on someone when that person is most vulnerable may be something, maybe what? Inappropriate, rewarding, destructive, effective, but is always what? Is always thoughtful, satisfying, distressing, unkind. I think the answer there is D, effective but is unkind. So maybe effective but is unkind. That completes the sentence nicely there. So an attack on someone when the person is most vulnerable may be effective but is unkind. So D, 3D. So question 4. While the committee members hurled, spoke, gave, exchange insults across the floor, the chairman tried in vain to something order, restore order, impose order, maintain order, conserve order. They were, I like the option A, hurled. They were hurling insults across the floor. The chairman tried in vain to restore order. I like A as number 4 answer. Somebody asked me when I was doing this question in class, why not C? Gave and maintain order. Tried in vain to maintain order. I like that option for the back of it, but gave insults, gave is a bit too soft. It's you don't really give insults to people. You throw insults at them. So the first one is a bit soft to fit in that there, fit in that space there. So again, the entire option, both of the answers have to fit nicely in the entire sentence and not just one. In the English exam, you read so much that you forget what the instruction was asking. So at every now and then, just pause, go back to the instruction, ensure you know what you're doing, and continue. So this one, remember you were looking at the word that best completes the sentence. So to conceal, number 5, to conceal his activities, his true activities, to spy quickly something, a plausible excuse for his presence there. fabricated a plausible excuse, divulge a plausible excuse, explained a plausible excuse, disguise a personal. Best answer there is fabricate. So, yes, I agree with A there. So here you're looking at opposites. So you're looking at antonyms. You have to always remember that because halfway through the exam, you will be tending to put synonyms, so words that are similar in meanings. You think that they're asking for another word to the word on the line. So you have to always remember that you're looking for opposite. Underline the word opposite and look for that as you look in the options. So he was eager to share his news with his friends. A, worried. He was worried to share his news. Makes no sense. Reluctant. Reluctant is sounding like the opposite of eager. Let's read the others though. Displeased, unavailable. Yes, he would want to be reluctant. So eager means he can't wait to do it. So opposite of can't wait would therefore be what? Reluctant. Good. So question 2. Many parents and even some teenagers do not approve of the amount of permissiveness in today's society. Big word. Now, if you see a big word and you don't know what a big word means, stop, reread the question, and try and figure it out. But have an idea of what the word is asking you for before you go to the option. So, permissiveness to me seems like freedom, openness, right? So, uh, if there is freedom, the opposite of freedom in the options here would be restrictiveness. So, yes, restrictiveness. Opposite A, I agree with that. If you disagree, let me know what you think in the comment section. Question 3 quickly. Every effort was made to avert the chance of failure. Avert, like put there, is meaning to prevent. So, another thing that CXC likes using with prevent would be an option thwart. Thwart is obviously the same thing as prevent. So you can remember that as well because you can see that in the exam. So again, every effort was made to avert the chance of failure. Avert means to prevent. So what would you think would the opposite of prevent be? If you don't want to prevent it, therefore you want to ensure it or allow for it. So the best option there, I think, is A, ensure, exclude, examine, overcome. No. Overcome would probably be the synonym in this case, but they're asking for opposite again. Remember that, right? So you're looking at opposite of avert, so ensure would be the opposite. I just realized the numbers were missing there. So the first one here would have really been question 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So just make that change here for me. So yes, question 9 here reads, the president of the Students Association never mentioned the treasurer's integrity. Integrity is a quality of someone, right? It means honesty. So the opposite of that would be in dishonesty. Good. So D, I agree with that. Loyalty, inability, skill. I agree with dishonesty as the answer here. D. All right. Tell me what you think. So looking at number 10, the last one here, she seems to be sensitive to the feelings of others. Sensitive tells me how she responds, right? So I am going to say more than just aware. So the meaning of the word really should be affected, affected by, for instance. So if the opposite is what we're looking for here, then it would be unaffected by. So I think that one is B, unaffected by. What do you think? Now let's go back. Sensitive. Sensitive tells me it's more than just being aware. So it can't just be aware. Aware sounds so soft. All right, it must be more than aware. To me, it means affected. She seems to be showing some kind of feelings to it. So affected, that's what she's showing. So the opposite there would be unaffected. All right, so yes, I would say B is the answer there to number 10. So with these questions here, you are simply revising the question, really. You're restructuring it, in other words. So 11 says, people from crowded nations cannot get over accessibility of Canada's natural environment in all its magnificence. So they're telling you to begin it with, it is impossible for. So you're reading the piece that they tell you to begin it with, and then you're matching that piece to the continuing of the original sentence, and then you're looking for the addition in the option. Let's go through it. It is impossible for people from crowded nations to get over, that is the best option, to get over the accessibility of Canada's natural resource. So B, 11, B. So number 12, if Charlie invites me, I will go to the party. So this is a future tense. So they're asking for a tense change. So they're telling you to begin it with were Charlie to invite me. So this is a past tense now. Were Charlie to invite me, I would have gone. Were Charlie to invite me, I would have gone. In a perfect aspect of it. I would have gone to his party. So the answer there would have been C. Were Charlie to invite me, I would have gone to his party. C. 12C. Number 13. More is experienced in one day of the life of a learned man than an ignorant experiences in his whole lifetime. More is experienced in the day of a learned man than an ignorant man experiences in his whole lifetime. So, beginning with a learned man. A learned man experiences more in a day than an ignorant man experiences in his whole lifetime. So the answer there is C. That's the best option. 13, C. So 14, she found even after she had made several attempts to regulate the sprinkler, that water was still reaching the furniture on the veranda. So they're telling you to begin with having made several attempts to regulate the sprinkler, she found that water was still reaching the veranda. So A, 14A, that's correct. The cricket match ended abruptly when many of the spectators stormed the field. They're telling you to begin with. Many of the spectators stormed the field, so the cricket match ended abruptly. So yes, 15 is A, that's correct. So for these questions, you're choosing the option in this question that is incorrect. So in the sentence, there might be an incorrect part. You're choosing that incorrect part as the answer. Sometimes students often put D as these answers, all of them. Let me just tell you, the answer is rarely D. So if you're thinking the answer is D, read it again and then choose D if you're sure the second time around or the third time around. The answer is rarely D. So question 16 here, considering the chaos you would cause if you were to resign now, I have no choice than to refuse your request. The answer here is C, than, should be but. I have no choice but to refuse your request. So C is the answer to number 16. Some persons might say they're going to say the answer is A because they could have said will, considering you will cause. I disagree. I think it's C. Than should be but. What do you think? 16. Number 17 is a subject and verb agreement error. You may notice that the windows of the house next to the playground looks like those of ancient English cottages. You may notice the subject here is windows. The windows of the house next to the playground looks. That's incorrect. Windows is plural, so it should be plural verb. The plural verb would be look. Remember, the plural verb doesn't have S at the end, so the windows look, not the windows looks. So the windows look. Good? No questions about that at all. The answer there is B. I will put a link in the description to a video I did on subject and verb agreement. You can check that out if you want to have a better understanding on subject and verb agreement rules. You will have a question in the exam, at least one multiple choice in the exam that tests subject and verb agreement, so you have to know it, right? So check that out. So the next question here, question 19, deals with subject and verb agreement. Tom, the most talented of those musicians who need help, has promised to give his services free of charge for any worthwhile cause. The person thought the answer is A, but that's wrong. I think that's wrong. The answer here is D. There's no error in this sentence. Tom is the subject of this sentence. They put a comma there to give you a little information about Tom. So the sentence would have really continued if we ignore the information that they give you about Tom. Would have read, Tom has promised, and that's fine. So Tom has promised. So B would be correct there. Let's consider now this A that says needs. Need. It says need. So those musicians who need. That is fine. The subject that governs this need is musicians. Musicians need. That's correct. So there's no error there. The error would have been if they had said Tom have promised. That would have been an error. But they have Tom has promised. So that is correct. So there's no error in that sentence there. Wow. The question 20 is also a subject and verb agreement error question. So please check out the video on subject and verb agreement to make sure you understand that, because it will help you in the exam. Any disease of the bones and joints which are due to deficiencies in a single factor can be prevented. A single nutritional factor can be prevented. What is the error here? The error here is A. The person thought it was D, somebody else thought it was A. I don't know what's going on, but the answer there is A. Listen why. The subject here is any disease. Any is subject. So any is singular. If any is singular, what should the verb be that follows any? The verb that follows a singular subject should always be what? Singular. That's correct. Singular subject, singular verb. Singular subject, singular verb. Any disease is due. The subject is any. The subject is not bones and joints. The subject is any disease. So the answer there is A. A is the error. All right, let's run through these here quickly. Question 1. Okay, so we have some options here where we're choosing what the errors are in these sentences. So we have A, wordy or repetitive. B, cliche or misused metaphor. A cliche is an overused statement, a sentence or a word or a phrase that has been used so often it has lost its meaning. That's a cliche. We have misused metaphor when we're using a metaphor incorrectly. Uh, Incorrect grammar, that could have been any punctuation, subject and verb agreement error. It can also be punctuation error in terms of capitalization and so on. Faulty diction, that's when a word is used and the word should not have been there. It has a wrong meaning. That would be faulty diction. Then D is acceptable as it stands. So you will choose D, acceptable as it stands. Mind you, the options here can be rearranged. A can now become D. So you have to be careful to read carefully what they're giving to you, because many a year they have changed these options completely, and a person came out of the exam after we practiced the question, carefully said that they got the question right, but somebody else said that the options were rearranged, and then she realized that she lost the question. She didn't get the question correctly. So you have to be careful, guys. Read the question carefully. What I'm saying, again, if you haven't followed, I'm saying the option A here, which is wordy, that can actually now become option D. So option A, where too wordy is, could actually be option D. And they switch option D, which was acceptable, to option A. So you have to be careful to read what they're giving to you before you jump to put an answer. So let's quickly run through these here. I think all of these are actually correct. So let me see. There are many who have not considered the need to abstain from alcohol, but sobriety is truly the only option for one who wishes to engage in healthy lifestyle practices. Yes, I think that one is acceptable. 22. He wanted to beg for his old job back, but that ship had sailed. He simply had to deal the hand that was dealt him. What do you think about this one? Yes, if you think it's cliche, indeed, it is cliche. Overused statement. That ship had sailed, play the hand that was dealt him. And what CXE often does is they put two of the errors, the same error, in the same question so you can see it. You can see what I'm talking about here. That ship had sailed, play the hand that dealt him. Two of the same cliche in the same question. Uh, Rising from the throne, the crowd cheered the noble monarch as he walked solemnly forward. I think that one is indeed a faulty diction. The word solemnly not really fitting there. This one here, the moon shone brightly in the clear night sky. Its cool light a blessing uh, after the searing heat of the day. I think the one is indeed B. What do you think about this one? Alright, so number 25. When the clerk raised his voice in protest, his boss asked him to hold his tongue since empty vessels made the most noise and often are thrown in the den to be eaten by lions. If you don't see this one, you want some lashes. This is indeed a cliche. Let me show you what I was talking about. So you have empty vessels make the most noise. That is a cliche, overused statement. Then thrown in the den to be eaten by lions. Not that's an error. That's a cliche. Another one they often use is something to do with the fact he jumped from the frying pan into the fire. Definitely cliche. Once you see those things, you think cliche. How do you recognize these cliches? When it's something that can be taken as literal, if it's something that cannot be taken as literal, it is a cliche. Nobody will be jumping from any frying pan into any fire. Is the 2018 first part of the multiple choice paper, the English A multiple choice paper from 2018. I'll put a link in the description to the entire paper. You can go ahead and work that out as good practice. Mind you, the answers there, I did not put them there, so some of them might indeed be wrong as we have seen here. So just go ahead and read them carefully, read it over and over. All you have to do is read the passages and pick out the answers, really. So there's nothing much to it. It's these first ones that you have to know the rules for why the answer is so. Just go ahead and click those out, check those out rather, and choose the right answer. So you can read this one on your own. It's a short poem, nothing like the elephant that you had in English B. So Leisure is a really nice poem. So go ahead and read this on your own, and I provide the answers there for you. So just compare your answers when you're done. Goodbye.